We're live. Welcome back to the yoga chat.
Hi, Mom.
Hey, Barb. My mom's actually in town this week. She's visiting me for Thanksgiving, so that's cool. She was like, "Can I just listen to it while you guys record live?" And I was like, no, you have to leave the
No,
house.
absolutely
See you
not.
later."
Absolutely not. Graham, would you like to say hello to your mom?
Hi, Mom. She'll probably listen to this a few weeks late. Hi, May's
Awesome.
mom, Anna's mom.
I guess I should introduce Graham before I have him start talking to his mother. So today on the yoga chat, we have a good buddy of mine from college. His name is Graham um, Guthrie, and he is now wow, I'm not good at the introductions, Montana. This is why
Sure.
you usually do these. You're so much better at these.
You are.
So backstory with Graham and I were friends from college. So most of our friendship is like revolved around binge drinking and like getting kicked off of like party buses and stuff.
Yep.
But we've remained in touch over the years, and he and I are both now respectable spouses and parents and have real jobs and don't really binge drink anymore. At least I can't speak for Graham. I don't know, but I don't think so. But we have him on the show today because he has some pretty fun stories of how he left his corporate job and did a bike trek, 4,100 miles from New York City to Oregon, and that kind of like launched him into a fitness career. Now he does personal training of private clients in New York and just had a baby. And he has a pecan pie in the oven that's coming out in 6 minutes. So if anyone hears a ding, that's what it is. Also, last night when we were talking, I asked him if he was prepared, and he said that he had 3 crystals of various sizes shoved up his ass and that he was ready. So the first question I needed to ask Graham is what the healing properties of those crystals were and if they're still up there.
Uh, they're just general like mood lifters for me personally. And they help with my cooking. So my measurements are a little more spot on. But yeah. No,
Must
thank
be
you for
road
asking
sports.
so much, Montana and May. I think that was a pretty good intro. I
So do
don't
I.
Really?
quite
Okay,
as
good.
much as I used to, but it still happens every once in a while. Yeah, just a normal guy with his crystals and fitness career in New York. And unfortunately, social media keeps May and I connected. And I haven't been back to Pittsburgh in much too long, but
Been a
soon,
while. Yeah,
soon.
Graham was in the same fraternity as my husband Ed, so that's how we all know each other.
Hi, Ed.
He's
Hi,
downstairs,
Ed.
but I'll show. He'll listen to this one. He hasn't listened to any of these because he says he feels like he's spying on my secret yoga life, and I was like, I don't even know what that means, but okay, well, if that's okay. Um, so the first question, Montana, we have to ask, and I know
We have
Graham
to
has
ask.
studied for this.
And now we have enough episodes where people can start preparing. So before we started recording, Graham said, "Wait, hang on 1 second. I got to grab my screenshot of my big three," which makes me so happy. So Graham, what are your big three?
So I'm in Aries, which I think is spot on. Moon in Leo, which I just found out. It's pretty close from the summation I get here. Ascendant in Leo. Kind of
Oh,
Oh, you're a fiery motherfucker.
three fires. Yeah.
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 That's why you
So
guys love each other. This is why you're friends. See, it all makes sense.
yeah.
Fiery motherfucker. And he can crack jokes
get
about
it.
crystals up his butthole. So this is why we're pals.
Right. Right. So if you want to tell me about that, I don't know. Aries, I've known my whole life. So, and it's funny when I go to Starbucks and I'm like, what's the name? Oh, it's Graham. And they write like Ram on the thing. I'm like, not far off. So, all right, take it.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I wish that we could tell you more about it, but we can't. But our friend Aaron can, and maybe Sam. So,
Yeah, Sam probably could.
but it's just fun and lighthearted. Like May and I both understand these things very surface level. And yeah, so it's just, I don't know like what Leo sun and Leo rising mean, or sorry, Leo moon and Leo rising mean, but Leo suns tend to be like my very bestest friends are all Leos. And they're completely opposite of me, even though we're all fire people. So
Nice.
it's just interesting. I love
My
it.
wife and child are Leo, so that's good.
Oh, wow. You guys are wild family.
Going hard in the
That
paint.
makes sense. He just posted a video the other day. They were like all working out in the same room. The baby was on her stomach doing like a plank. His wife was like doing like some lunges. He was on the bike. And I was like, you get it. Get it,
Right.
fire family.
Fitness fire fam. I love it.
So let's start from, why don't you give us like your general background, who you are, what you did before, what you do now, and how you made that transition.
Sure. If you look at me, I look like I should be offloading beer trucks in Bavaria and that I get paid in beer. That is not the case, but as a person, I think I'm a giant kid, or as my middle brother would tell me, I'm a baby. But very like inquisitive about everything. I like a good poop joke. I like a bad poop joke. I like riding bikes with my friends. I recently picked up skateboarding. I like surfing. And yeah, recently became a dad, which is nice. I'm 39, so a little bit later than most people, but New York, it's like I'm pretty much the youngest person with a small child. And professionally, I'm a personal trainer, as you alluded to, training mainly in New York, ages probably youngest clients like 24, oldest clients in their late 60s. I do train virtually as well, so that gives me a little bit more leeway. So people at home in their own home gym, or if they have a private gym in their space, which is cool because I have one client that travels nonstop. So he was in New Zealand and Australia recently, and I was training him like 9 p.m. here while he was waking up. So it was pretty cool. Nice to be able to do that. And the video quality is like amazing. It's ridiculous. But I'm kind of a generalist, like a jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. And I like to pull from all of my experiences in terms of, you know, what I learned in yoga and what I've learned in weightlifting myself, strength training myself. As I mentioned, I like cycling, which led me and my wife to start doing triathlons and stuff like that. What else? Before I got into the fitness world, I was working in a corporate position for like 10 years. I graduated college during the 2008 crisis, so the jobs weren't really there. And my buddy G Money got me a spot in Delaware, Mike Garland, and worked in corporate insurance for like 10 years. And the last role I had was health safety consulting gig. I was an account manager, but I had some consulting aspects of my job, and a large portion of it was office ergonomics. And you know, I didn't have a background in kind of the physiology required in that science, but I was managing these like, you know, call like $100,000, $200,000 programs for a lot of financial service firms. And it was really cool. Learned a lot, but I always felt like I was on the back end of like trying to help people. And so people are like, can I get a standing desk? And I need a new mouse pad, and I need this adjustment. And it's like, people were typically so far gone in terms of like an older group, let's say, we're so far gone that they like, you know, a chair adjustment and a new monitor or standing desk wasn't really going to fix what was wrong with them. And so I always kept that in the back of my mind. Oh, and this is a story for you, May, since you were talking about the dentist worried about hunchbacks or humpbacks. Rewind to when I was a little kid. I used to go to Bring Your Child to Work Day with my dad, and he was a corporate lawyer. And I used to see these like very accomplished old men getting up from their chairs, and they had like zero ass. It looked like their backside had been ironed. And I used to call it old man pancake ass. And then I saw that again as a professional, and I was like, I never want that. I'm like sitting at my desk too long. My days kept getting longer and longer. I wasn't exactly in love with what I was doing. I didn't feel like I was necessarily helping people, at least on an individual basis. So I decided I was gonna give it all up. Decent money saved, like traveling, decided I was gonna ride a bicycle across the country, link up with a nonprofit. Everybody was weirdly supportive. Like I was expecting to have all these like tough conversations with my parents and my boss and manager and stuff like that. And they were all like, cool, no, like go for it. So weirdly supportive. I had one guy tell me to bring a gun, but I was like, I live in Manhattan. That's probably the most dangerous place I'm going to be on the trip. So yeah, did the trip, came back, got started in indoor cycling. So I wanted to get paid for cycling somehow. And then I was in gyms all the time. And then I got hired as a personal trainer. And the manager that hired me was like, I know you don't have your certification for personal training, but if you get it within 3 months, you're hired. And the rest is history. That was back in 2017.
Hi.
Done. Pecan pies ready for Thanksgiving.
Nice.
Yeah, back in 2018, I started teaching my first cycling class, had my first personal training client that March, and it's been great ever since. Get to help people one-on-one, you know, varying goals, varying health issues, pretty much, I'm sure what you two see in any given day, people coming into your studios. So that's kind of my long wind. I could keep yammering on, but if you have any questions, we can dive into the weird aspects. Yeah, go for it.
I have a question. So you're in Manhattan now and you went to school at Pitt. Where are you from originally?
I grew up outside of Philadelphia. Go Bears. Yeah, from Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, which I don't think is too far from where May's actually from.
I'm from Bucks County, Yardley, not far.
Yeah, exactly. And I lived in Philly for like 6 years before moving up to New York. And I married a New Yorker, so good luck me getting out anytime soon. But it's great here.
I like how you vividly remember old man pancake ass from childhood. I actually have a scenario. I was in the grocery store line with my mom when I was like 10, and there was this older woman in front of us, and she was very thin, but like when she turned to the side, I was shocked that like she had no ass either. And I was just like, how does that happen? Does that just happen when you get old? And I still think about that woman's ass regularly. And I actually wonder if just sitting at a desk for like 40 years straight just actually flattens out your ass like an iron, or if there's other, you know, life things involved, but that's probably part of it.
Maybe a little bit of all of the things, but I feel like sitting on a desk for 40 years isn't going to help.
No, not anything.
Like genetics, lack of movement, and yeah, people not knowing how to use their butts properly. So
that's where you come in.
Yeah, I've been personally trying to make my butt bigger because I'm genetic wise not a large ass family like the Bouchers. And
are these all the names you were supposed to drop, or are they just
shout out to
names?
Eric, party ass. Yeah, it's all friends. It's like nothing professional as far as I'm planning right now. But
so wait, does this mean that party ass is gonna listen to this?
He's gonna listen.
Hi Eric, it's been a while.
I'll make him.
Eric is party ass. Eric has the funnest personality of anyone I've ever met in my entire life. He could make like a funeral a good time.
That's right.
He really could. But
I think from you that says a lot.
Oh yeah. Well, they're all fun. That's why I love them all.
Why we're here. I also want to ask, can you tell us a little bit more about your experience of driving or riding your bike cross country?
Yes. So I had never camped at all in my life. So I was doing a self-supported tour, as the cycling world would call it. I think it's called Adventure Cycling, has a series of maps that have routes all around the country, which is pretty cool. I based my route off of the Trans-America Trail, it's called, which is like the first cross-country one. And I basically left New York and met that in Virginia for a little bit, and then picked it back up in like Missouri, I think it was, Indiana, Missouri. But basically I did a big like shoehorn. My goal was I'd done one century ride in my life, which is a 100-mile ride. With my now wife, which was actually the day that I decided I was like, I could have a baby with this lady because she's hard as nails. Um, and so, yeah, I was like, it's really cool to travel by bicycle, even though you're going like 12 miles an hour. And so I loaded up like all these panniers, so a front rack, back rack on the bike, went to REI like 9 million times, and then bought everything offline because it was cheaper than REI, but they taught me all these things. And then, yeah, the first part of the trip was great because I was by myself, but I had like a huge network through Philly, through Virginia, all the way down to like Tennessee, essentially. But there's this website called, it's great. It sounds like a fetish website, but it's called Warm Showers. And it's for cyclists. It's like couch surfing for cyclists. But fellow cyclists will open their homes up to you, and they'll usually feed you a meal, let you either sleep on their lawn, or I had like a massive apartment above a garage to myself in Tennessee, which was sick. Stay in really cool places. Typically, people feed you, and then they'll tell you like things to watch out for in like local roads or whatever. So it's really cool. Gives the trip a little extra flair. And then
Do they pee on you too?
no, yeah, there was no threats of pee. Although I almost got peed on by a bear camping in the Grand Teton. So I thought it was a person, and it just turned out it was like the local 300-pound black bear walking by my tent very early one morning, which I had 2 bear incidents and didn't see either one of them, which was crazy. They got very close to me, but I did not see either one of them. Yeah, a couple crazy people, but that was not the norm. In Kansas, I met like 8 people who are now all friends for life, which is wild. We all had very similar like wavelengths, distances, temperament, which is important. Like you'd find all these people on the road and you're like, I guess I'll ride with you for a little bit. And then, you don't necessarily want to stay with them all that long. But once I had that group, we were camping almost nonstop. So every once in a while, stay in a hotel or a warm shower spot if they could handle a larger crowd. But yeah, it was unbelievable. It was like adult study abroad. I took 3 months as a 33-year-old, I think I was 34, and got to experience the U.S. Traveled a lot in the world, a lot of Europe, West Coast, South Africa before, but never saw like the middle of the country really. So it was, we live in a beautiful place with beautiful people. Don't let Fox News or MSNBC or whatever tell you otherwise. People are great. Got to talk to them.
So there are other people out there at all times doing this ride that you can just run into.
Yes, yeah. So there'd be like the Trans-America Trail, these map system, it'd be like 300 miles at a time, roughly. So you get a couple days of riding. They give you points of interest, places that you can get water and food, and then different campsites or hotels. So that trail being like the oldest and kind of most established, you're constantly passing people. They go both directions. So yeah, it's nonstop. And it's cool because there's these like tiny towns that are just like not built up for cycling, but they very much cater to who they know is coming through each summer. It's great. It's awesome. I highly recommend to anybody. And I was doing like 40 miles in the beginning, and then by the end, I was doing like 100 miles. Was no problem. I packed way too much shit because I didn't know what I needed. So my bike was like 100 pounds fully loaded. If I ever do it again, it's going to be like 70.
Bare bones.
Yeah.
It's so.
So you felt your body and your endurance change throughout. Like, was there ever a day you just woke up and you went for a ride? You're like, oh shit, I feel different today.
That's a good question. I would say it probably took about a week for me to be like, I can do this, no problem. Once you started hitting like 40, 50, 60 miles, or I would say like 50, 60, 70 miles, that was like, all right, my fitness is fine. And then the first hour of each day, especially when you were like, because I would ride for 6 and then take like a day off. you kind of needed that day break every once in a while. But the first hour of every day was kind of rough on the bike, and then you loosened up and you were great. So it was, went through 2 high plains deserts. So riding in like nonstop 100-degree weather in Kansas and like Oregon, Washington border. That was crazy because at night it's still like 100 degrees and you're just in your tent like, when is this gonna stop? But we're resilient people, and there's reasons that we've like explored everywhere, and some people died doing it, but we have the luxury of riding modern bicycles on modern roads with, well, electricity and refrigeration everywhere. So,
and warm showers.
and warm showers.
So also, how did you feel yourself mentally change through that? Like, were you, I guess, like, yeah, how did you change mentally?
I don't think honestly I changed all that much. Pretty optimistic person. I'm like, I guess I'm outgoing, but I don't like to start conversations. So I'm not one to be like, hey, what's up, guys? But if you talk to me, I'll chat you up, no problem. I'm more interested in like taking everything in. So just being in nature all the time was unbelievable. And what was I going to say? I studied abroad in Barcelona in my junior year, and that screwed up my sleep schedule. So my or what is it called? Your
Circadian rhythm.
Boom, that one. I couldn't sleep for like 10 years after abroad. I had insomnia, I had trouble getting to sleep. When I woke up, I'd stay awake. So I struggled with that for years, and I went to like doctors, and they're like, you should do a sleep study. And then another doctor's like, sleep study's not going to do anything for you. They're like, I could give you prescription for sleep meds, but that's only going to help you for like one night. Like, I wouldn't recommend taking it all the time because you're just going to get like some weird addiction. And they're like, what you need to do is sleep in another room in a place that has no TVs, and it's got to be different. And like, I had roommates in Philly at the time. I'm like, clearly I'm not going to sleep on a futon, like in the living room. That's not cool. But honestly, doing that 3-month trip out in nature where you're up exercising every day, you're kind of going to sleep with the sun going down almost, and then waking up before the sun's coming up or as it's rising, reset it. And I haven't had an issue since. So it was, that was probably like the most magical thing. But
then you did change mentally a little bit.
Yeah.
That's
That was a beautiful thing. And again, like kind of what I alluded to before was, I was amazed at how open and friendly and wonderful people were. Like, people are like, oh, what was the worst thing that happened to you? I'm like, I don't know, I can't even remember. Like, everything was so awesome and people were so great. I would say the only thing more beautiful in this country is people. So, yeah, it was.
Sorry, I was thinking, how were you like taking care of your body while you were on this ride? Like, were you stretching? Were you doing any yoga?
Yeah, so my we can get into my yoga life if you want to backtrack a little bit. But yeah, a little bit of stretching in the morning. You kind of didn't have time because if you were camping, you're just like, let me pack all my shit. That was kind of my warm up. And like I said, the first hour on the bike was kind of the warm up. But like days where you had some time, like getting into some deep lunges, hip flexor stretches, things for your upper back, that kind of stuff was important. I think the breath work that you kind of mentioned early on was, that was before we started, but the breath work was a huge thing because being able to kind of like quiet your mind when you're going through these like insane struggles, because like the Appalachian Mountains are insanely hard. The Rockies, once you got to elevation, that was no joke. So that ability to kind of like quiet everything else down, relax the rest of the body while you're doing something so very challenging was super important. And I still find that today. A lot of the things I like to do, whether it's surfing or triathlon or weightlifting, that kind of thing, where it's like, how do I use my breath to manage the physical stresses I'm going through right now? But what else? You asked me if I used it that much. should we talk about my start in yoga? Because I feel like that
Yeah.
might be a good,
segue.
We need to
and
hear
if you
about.
have,
I want
I
to
don't,
picture you in a yoga class. If anybody listening, Graham is like a pretty big guy. He's tall. He looks like kind of gruff if you didn't know him. Like I would probably cross the street on a dark night if, you know, I mean, like you're very handsome, but you have an intimidating vibe. So like picture intimidating guy coming to his first yoga class. Go.
yeah. So we were in Italy 2 summers ago. My wife took a video of me like walking around this like lake area, and I saw for the first time that I just lumber around. Like that's how I describe how I walk. So I lumber. So if that helps listeners get a better idea of me.
Visual.
Bavarian beer truck loader unloader. Yeah, so I like most Americans discovered yoga through P90X.
You're the third person we've talked to.
I know. I've listened to your podcast. I'm like, what is going on here?
Crazy.
And funny, the guy, one of my good friends from my cross country trip, his uncle is that dude. So I was like, what a weird small world.
Come full circle.
Yeah, my buddy Mike Garland, again, I was like lifting a lot in my 20s in Philly, and just getting like no cardio, no clean eating. I was just getting like strong and huge. And he was like, check out this workout, this yoga workout. And we did it together on the floor at like his mom's house, whatever. And he's like, this is the hardest day of like the week. And it was like 90 minutes struggle. This like ab portion was brutal. So I ended up doing P90X, or as I call it, P72, because after 72 days, I gave up. It was too boring working out at home. But the yoga thing, it gave me confidence basically to go and do a class, because I was like, oh, I can do up dog, down dog, like that kind of stuff. And so I started going to classes, and to be honest, like the ones in Philly were pretty like blah, like no real memories of that. But I was the only dude typically, and then I moved up to New York for work, and I was like, didn't have enough time to lift like I wanted to, but I was like, oh, you know, New York's probably got a bit more of a robust yoga scene. So I started going to like the gym that I had a membership to, and they had this one instructor who I really liked, and she was fantastic. She would kind of like give you, it was like a horoscope where like you read it and you're like, oh yeah, I kind of feel that way. She'd be like, sometimes we're feeling, yeah. So she really spoke to me, and I like kind of connected with her. Classes were awesome. And I was probably doing like 2 to 3 classes with her per week for a year and a half, 2 years. And then I felt confident enough to where I could do it on my own, like at home. So some Saturdays, if I had my apartment, because I shared apartment, if I was home alone, you know, light up some of the devil's lettuce and do some yoga for like 90 minutes on my own, and just like enjoy life and kind of like experience the sensations you're going through, and work on your breath work. One of the things that was like a huge breakthrough for me was discovering my third eye, which was, I don't know what that is, that you all can explain it to me, but it was basically like this focal point in between your eyebrows or right above it, that allowed me to focus like when things got tough or when I needed to relax or whatever. And that was like a really interesting thing that happened to me, and that completely changed my relationship with yoga, because I was like, I want to use this when I'm practicing, but it also helped me like fall asleep when I was having my sleep issues. I would kind of like focus on that spot, focus on my breath, and you know, the cycling trip cured it, but that kind of aided in a little bit of more normalcy, we'll call it. But
Did
yeah,
you have an instructor help you find your third eye, or were you just high as balls?
No, that was in class. Yeah, that was in class. She, like, again, I'd been going to her for years, and she would talk about it all the time. And the one day it just like showed up, and I can't describe it to you. It's like I don't even know how. It's just this like window. It could be shapes. Sometimes it looks like an eye. Sometimes it like floats around when your eyes are closed, but it'll be there. And you know, I don't really use that while cycling because you're not supposed to close your eyes, 'cause that'd be not great. But that was really cool. And then I really like the breath work, like the box breathing. And I have it's cold, so I'm like blowing my nose all the time. But she would do that breathing where you like breathe in one nose, pinch your nose, exhale out the other. And I'm just like pouring snot out of my face. And she would walk around and like hand me the 50 tissues. I'd use them all and then have to like clean them up afterwards. And what else? What else was really funny about that? She used to put like essential oils or some shit on us, like at the end of a class. And then one day I got this like massive rash on my neck afterward. And I was like, is it the oil? Is it because she touched some like gross person? Or was it, you know, I'm not allergic to much. And it was hilarious because the next time she came around to like offer that, I was like, no. And she wasn't expecting somebody to say no to her. She was like, what?
How dare you turn down my essential oils?
The rest of her class is a little bit thrown off, but no, it was fun. And then she was, again, somebody that I thought I had this like crazy connection to. Every one of her classes, I felt like I learned something. She spoke to like problems that you'd go through. I was like, yeah, I go through that. And then when I told her, I was like, you know, I'm resigning from my job. I'm going to do this bike trip. I'm, you know, going to help out this nonprofit. And she was just like, okay. I'm like, that's it? I was like, I had like 2 years of my life with you, lady. You know me by name. We've shared stories. Oh, you're okay. And I saw her in she was working at Trader Joe's near where I train. And I was like, oh shit, I got to go say hi to her. She probably wouldn't remember who I am, but yeah, it was fun.
So a couple questions. What do you think about this particular woman, like compared to other yoga classes you had taken? Why do you think you connected with her particular way of teaching? Was it the way that she taught? Was it who she was? Did she just have a nice ass?
She was not my type, but she, wavelength wise, she was like kind of on the hippie side, which I appreciated, but the like flow of her class was great. And so what I enjoyed was like, I can't, shoot, what's the name? Is it Ashtanga? What's the hatha where you're just holding poses forever?
Mm-hmm.
I can't do that. I weigh 230 pounds. You put me in a lunge for like 5 minutes, I'm gonna walk out. Like I can't do that. It would always be this like vinyasa flow type thing. And she was amazing at yoga. Like she wouldn't work out the whole time, which I don't think most yoga instructors do, but she would like, she would make nice adjustments throughout the class, which I felt was cool. So it felt a little bit personalized, even though it was a room. She was always packed. Like you had to schedule way ahead. So she always took her time. But like, again, I'm huge. So if I'm in a back bend and she'd come over and she's like, lift here. I'm like, I'm already in it for 3 minutes. Like I have no more strength to go in any one direction. My shoulder's going to snap if I go much harder or longer, or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. It was just kind of like her temperament matched mine. And it didn't take me long to figure that out, which I think is cool. Like you can, if anybody's considering yoga, you know, pick up P90X, but then go to, just check out classes. You're not beholden to anybody. Go to one, say hi, show up early, say hi to the instructor. If you got any health issues, say, you know, my shoulders bother me, my neck bothers me, yada, yada. Any good instructor will take that into consideration and point that out for you. And any good personal trainer should do the same. And what else? Yeah, it was just fun, and it was a good release. Like, again, that the meditation practice, which the way she kind of orchestrated through a class was nice. Focus on breath, trying to clear the mind, that kind of thing was huge, because we don't have a lot of quiet in our lives, like devices in our hands and Netflix to watch and people screaming about everything all the time. You know, it's nice to kind of clear your mind, and yoga was a great place to do that for me when I was working the corporate job that I ultimately left. And it was like peace every once in a while. And you know, and this is another point, is not all classes are the same, right? And that's not to say one instructor will always have the same class or all instructors have similar classes, but like you show up as the individual and your class isn't the same as it was 3 days before. You know, I suck at balance practice. My right leg is better than my left leg. Sometimes I'll have a great left leg day, but then I come back and I'm like, I can't stand. I have to like find a wall or I'm just gonna do nothing. And I think people don't do a great job of kind of empathizing for themselves or self-compassion for themselves, and they want to be told what they to do and they want to do what they're told in terms of like fitness. And then when they can't do that, they get frustrated and then they're like, it's not for me. It's not for me. And you're like, no, you got to like open yourself up to, you know, where you are on that given day kind of thing and take it from there. So that's,
you have to be not good at things before you can be good at things. And you can't quit every time you're not good at something, or you'll never be good at anything. You can't just be perfect at everything the first time you try. I think that's a big thing with yoga. My sister-in-law, she doesn't ever, she hates it, doesn't feel good, I'm not good at it. And I'm like, no one is good at it the first time they try it. All the P90X people that came on here that are like yogis and CrossFitters and Navy SEALs and shit, the P90X yoga, I've never even I need to find this DVD because apparently it's humbled every man that's been on this show. And there's no women, just the men. I guess that was how like they jumped the hump into yoga, but I need to find this DVD. Sorry, one more question. This was completely not unrelated, but while you were talking, I was wondering if you think, as a personal trainer, as someone who's taught group fitness, and then as someone who's attended yoga classes, if there's any certain way that you feel like certain instructors make the class feel more accessible to somebody who might be new at it or not great at it. Like, how do you make somebody feel okay with not being great at something when they come to the first time working with you?
Yeah.
Or how do you encourage them to feel okay with not being okay the first time?
That's a great question. I think it's you want to give people an opportunity to kind of like say where they are. So when I was teaching cycling classes, I was like, you know, is anybody new? Do they need help adjusting their bike? And that was like an easy way for me to come over. I'm not talking in front of a large group of people. And I would like set them up and I'd be like, hey, listen, this is how my class kind of plays out. But like, if you don't feel comfortable, just like take off some tension, sit there, just try to make it through the classes were 45 minutes. Just try to make it through 45 minutes and you'll be good. Like, you're not going to do anything that's going to hurt you, right? Like, it's pretty simple. So I think that was like just a quick way to kind of individualize something that's, you know, community based. You want to bring everybody together, but you also want to treat everybody individually. So easier said than done, depending on how big the classes are. But, you know, that's kind of on the person to let people know where they are, and they don't have to shout it in front. Simply raise your hand and say, like, your instructor will come over and you can whisper if you need to. But, you know, if you find that's not the case for the space you're in, you don't have to go back. So I'm pretty, you know, welcoming person, even though I lumber around. I want people to say hi, to voice any issues they're having, that kind of thing. And just, you know that we're all different stages in our lives and our fitness careers, and, you know, whatever you're pursuing. Like you said, nobody's perfect when they start. I think that's actually, I took a bunch of notes before we were going to start. But one thing that I find that people learn or forget how to play. And I think yoga was a very interesting place to like learn how to play. So like I spoke about how I went for a long time before I had the confidence to kind of like practice stuff on my own. But it was a cool thing to just be like, you know what, like, I know my shoulder's doing this, and this is long before I was in fitness, and it's cranky, and I think I could warm it up, and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And then next thing I know, I'm on the mat for an hour. And I feel amazing after I'm done. And, you know, I'd try to mimic a class as much as I could in terms of like closing my eyes, sitting in I don't even remember the names. What's like the cross-legged and like tall. And then you're,
Yeah.
yeah. And like, say that again, Montana, I'm sorry.
Sukhasana.
Yeah. That.
You were like, Sue.
Yeah. And then I would do like corpse pose at the end, and then, you know, take my time making my way back to that. And but it was like fun just to be like, you know, I'm feeling this way today, so I'm gonna try to treat that. And you start feeling better in other ways. You're like, you know what, I just learned this other thing, or I just tried this other thing. Can I like sneak that in? And people, like I said, where people kind of want to be told what to do, it's like, you know, most things we do, we're not going to like hurt ourselves necessarily. And just don't be afraid to try something. You know, I wouldn't recommend loading up a couple 100 pounds and trying to deadlift it if you're not confident in that. But body weight stuff in general, or, you know, just go have some fun. Like I said, like I'm trying to learn how to skateboard. When I was a kid, I used to roll my ankles nonstop skateboarding and playing sports. And then now I'm like getting on a skateboard. I'm like, this is slippery, but I think I'll be all right. And haven't heard anything yet, but it's humbling. And I think it's cool. I think we need to be humbled all the time. Like, you know, you don't have to be told you suck, but like do things that put you in out of your comfort zone, and do it regularly. Because the more you, like I said, you can kind of empathize with yourself, the more you can empathize with other people. You know, not all days are the same. They're not all the same for others. That's my big hippie thing I'm trying to convey here.
I think that like what you're defining right now kind of is like the definition of play in a way, like humbling yourself enough to like try something new, not be necessarily great at it or the best at it, in an effort to just like explore. And another thing that you brought up earlier, and I feel like it kind of came up again in terms of like how you empower your students as a coach is, and I think it's so important to mention that like it might take a while for you to find a yoga teacher or a coach or a fitness professional or a friend or a husband or whatever. But then once you meet that person, you find that person, like 9 times out of 10, you know, immediately. Just like you said, you knew with the yoga teacher that you resonated with so much. And just like you said, you know, if the person or the place isn't making you feel welcomed, then go try another one.
Yeah.
Because your teacher, your coach, your person, they're out there, and once you find them, most of the time it's like, all right, I know that this is what I've been looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I also think another cool thing that you brought up, and what we've heard in every single conversation, is how yoga is utilized in people's lives off of the mat. And that's where it makes it so juicy. That's the juice. And so it's interesting to hear, like, yoga is multifaceted. There's so many different variables to it. There's the 8 limbs, right? And within the 8 limbs, there's so many different avenues that you can take, and you don't have to know what the 8 limbs are to find the avenue that works with you. So it's really interesting to hear that, like, the breath work and connecting to your third eye, which is super cool, are the things that you have kind of taken off of your yoga mat and used, whether it's in your cycling or helping you sleep, or I'm assuming in other areas of your life too, whether it's, you know, trying to not be an asshole to someone in traffic or your cashier at the grocery store, whatever. So yeah, that's super cool.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's
You're living the yoga.
I have to
Being a hippie.
I commute by bicycle in New York, which is just mayhem. And listen, I don't stop at every red light, but I try not to run over women and children. But like, how many times cars get unnecessarily close to you? And it's like, take that big breath, exhale, it's past, you're okay. Like, it's probably not worth engaging them, even if you catch them at a light, that kind of thing. I'm like 10 years ago. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, like,
Namaste. I love you.
I'm like, I would, if I could, if there were no retribution, I would probably punch people in the face most days of the week, but I don't, because I'm, I can control it, but like, I think about it, but then the yoga, like, kind of relax. And like I said, I'm a pretty easygoing person, but yeah, it's pretty amazing how it does come into play. And with the one huge thing about yoga, and which I know is going to come back, maybe I'll just save it for later, but
No, say it now.
all right, so what I had with my cycling classes, and I miss it, so I might get back in group fitness, but it's just the community, right? So like, I worked at a big box gym, and I worked with other trainers, and I would see familiar faces nonstop, whether it was people in my classes or working out, whatever. But I just miss that like community aspect of it, because right now I work either virtually or at a small like private gym, so there's maybe 2 or 3 other people training at the same time, so you don't really have that like constant mix of people. And I have a gym that I belong to, where I go work out, but you kind of miss that like getting to know people. And that's kind of like, oh, I'm not motivated, I'm not motivated to work out. You're like, you haven't built a habit, and you don't, maybe you haven't found a group that you want to go work out with. And not everything has to be group fitness. Like I said, you should be able to play by yourself, but like that community aspect is massive in terms of keeping you accountable, and making it a more enjoyable experience. And oh, that's another thing I want to say, we'll go back to your earlier question about new people trying yoga, is people are not interested in the random person in class. Maybe I think the instructor should be, but nobody else is looking at you. They're staring at themselves in the mirror. How awesome is my handstand?
100%.
And same thing at the gym, the giant jacked guy or the chick in her booty shorts, they're not worried about you. They're doing their own thing. You're trying to do your own thing. You'd find more often than not, people are more interested in helping you than tearing you down. So yeah, just try it. Just whatever it is, go try it. You'll find friends, you'll make friends. Even if you're quiet and shy, it may take a couple weeks and people start chatting you up more. You might find yourself more chatty, but people are more interested in themselves than the other person in the room. So
That's
get
great.
out there and do it.
So true.
Yeah.
I have to ask, because this is what I always ask. I need at least one fart story. Personal training, a client that ripped one like while they were in a squat. Like, I need one fart story. Yeah. Could have been you. You could give sell yourself out.
There's so many farts that I do that they're not memorable, but
it's too often.
I'm trying to think. There's been a couple times where like some old dude or something would like just crop dust the like general fitness area, and it's like not even quiet. It would just be like this low rumble as he's like walking by. So fun. I always enjoyed when you go to class and there's like 1 or 2 people that just rip ass constantly,
and they don't give a fuck.
They don't give a fuck. Yeah, they couldn't care less. And you kind of like, assuming it doesn't smell, you kind of got to give them credit, because it's like, if you're trying to pull a fart in and do all this like crazy yoga work, like, yeah, it's not great. You're gonna get like a stomach ache or something. But try not to like, I don't know, if you have comedic timing with it, go for it. You probably loosen the room up a little bit.
They're the trailblazers. They're the ones that are going to make it feel okay for the rest of us to just let them go.
But there's also like, when it's every time, you're just like, yo, you gotta relax, man. Like, go.
Or like, what do you eat? Like, what is going on in your guts? That's like, there was this one guy. This was the most perfectly timed thing ever. But we were about to be in a supine twist, and I was like, inhale, hug your right knee in towards your chest. Exhale, cross your right knee over to the left. And as he crossed it over, it was just this slow, like, rumble all the way around. And like, I heard everybody lightly gasp, but like, no, and I had the microphone on. I was like, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh, don't laugh. Like, you're an adult. This is your job. Don't laugh. And I was just like giving myself this pep talk the whole time, but I was like, I can't wait to tell my brother about this fart because this is like the best fucking fart I've ever heard in my entire life. But I held it in. I didn't laugh. And I've never, this is ridiculous. I've never been more proud of myself in my yoga career than not laughing at that fart because it was a fucking funny fart. It was a real funny fart.
We're practicing yoga within yourself while teaching yoga.
I was.
That's like Inception.
You're like becoming a guru.
That's right. Yeah, you're a different level. There's like Buddha, and then May, and then everybody else.
Yeah, and then me not laughing in farts. I'm up there. It's an accomplishment.
Here, I have a question for you. So I had friends and an ex-girlfriend who were like, I don't do yoga unless it's like hot yoga because I don't feel like it's a workout. I'm like, the chick I was dating was like 120 pounds. And meanwhile, again, I'm a goon trying to do yoga. So I'm just sweating. Fuck, it doesn't matter the temperature of the room. I prefer like cooler room because I knew I was going to heat up. How often do you have people, guys probably more often than not, I'm sure ladies do it too, but just like crazy flop sweat in like normal non-hot conditions in your classes?
Well, all of the studios I teach at are hot, but the one studio is way less hot than the other. And there are usually equal amounts of sweat, I think, but the men usually do produce a couple more drips. But this one guy, no matter what class it is, no matter what we're doing, when he leaves, there's an entire sweat angel around him. And I have to go over with the mop like a couple times, but he's I don't even know what's going on there. And he's like, his hygiene is fantastic. He doesn't stink or anything, but no, like we're halfway through the warm up and he's already just got it just there.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's
Honestly, I'm one of those people. I sweat like what just came to my mind. I don't know if I should say it. I sweat a lot.
Okay.
We're going to talk about swamp ass?
No, I was going to say I sweat like a whore in church.
Oh, well, that's okay. There's no
filters here.
There's
no filters here.
No, Montana and I took a solid core class together, and it was the first time either of us had gone. And we're like, oh, we teach yoga, like we teach 12 classes a week, whatever. This is gonna be super, super duper easy. Halfway through class, we're fucking dying, covered in sweat. And I like waved the girl over. I was like, do you have any like sweat towels here? She's like, no. And I like looked around and everybody was bone dry. And me and Montana were like
drenched,
like monsters, like disgusting monsters.
Slipping everywhere.
Oof.
Yeah.
Have you ever done solid core?
One of my former clients and friends recommended it to me. So I haven't, but I do plan on it. But
it's humbling.
Yeah, I would definitely want to try that. I did like one of those Pilates reformers classes when I was getting into the fitness world. A friend of a friend who was in it was like, yeah, come check it out. That was insane. Again, it was all like 90-pound ladies, just like, pulling the thing back. And I'm here like shaking every part of me, not sure if I'm going to survive it. Like, I'm like, my hips are going to go and I'm going to go into a full split and I'll need to go to the hospital. But I went, this was great. So 2 years ago, and I'm cool. I don't have a hard stop. I probably have like 15 minutes left. Montana, I know
I was like,
mentioned by email. Yeah. You're okay. We're okay. We're in a safe place. So I go to LA for a wife's work trip because I like to piggyback, and I have this weird lifestyle now where I can kind of make my own hours. And so I go to LA. We're staying in this like ridiculous West Hollywood hotel, and they have free yoga on like Thursday morning. So I'm like, sweet, I'm going to do that. And it's myself, two ladies traveling from like Idaho or something like that. This very attractive yoga instructor who was like on point. Like everything she was saying was like so on point. We had this view of like downtown LA off in the distance. It's like 9 a.m. sun's coming up, feels nice and warm. My wife finishes her work thing. We go out to Santa Monica for like 2 nights, and then we have a whole day to kill before we go back to New York. And I was like, what if we do, you know, like a yoga class so we can kind of set ourselves up for the flight, kind of like stretch out, get our minds clear, we'll sleep the whole time. So we go in, we find the studio. You can rent a mat, but they don't have towels. I'm like, okay, that's all right. I get in there. I am sweating more than I have ever sweat in my entire life. There are pools on my mat, on either side of my mat. This was a time where like people were looking at me because they probably thought I was going to die, and nobody else is sweating. Not one other person is sweating. It's only 11 people in the class. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't even have anything that I can. I think I took my shirt off and I was like trying to wipe the puddle. And fortunately, you know, nobody called me out for it or whatever. But I end up like, we finish and then we still had hours to kill. So we went and got dinner and drank a bunch. And then I was like destroyed for the flight. So that didn't really pan out. But it was better than not doing anything. And it was fun because now I have that story where I just sweat like an entire 5-gallon bucket on the floor in LA. If I go back, I bet you they'd be like, "Oh shit!" Be like, "We have towels now. We got towels for you."
Your name is on the wall. There's a picture of you on the wall in the back.
Yeah,
in the
the
back.
great flood of February 2021, whatever it was.
There was a young guy that came to a class once. It was a private class, and I don't think he had ever taken yoga before, so he might not have understood the etiquette. But at the end of class, he took his shirt off, and he wrung the shirt out on the yoga mat that he had rented from the studio.
Ugh.
That, and I've never been squeamish about sweat because like it happens, but for some reason when he did that, I just started gagging uncontrollably, and I was like, who is the world your toilet? Like what is happening? What are you doing? And that's the only time I've ever looked at someone in a sweat way that was like gross to me, because that's fucking gross. It's like you might as well just take a piss on the floor. Like
Yeah,
I don't,
all that much different.
like, would you do this to your house? Like, would you go home to your mother's house and wring out your sweaty shirt on the floor? Probably not. But yeah.
Right.
Otherwise, I think sweat, I like to see sweat puddles. It means I'm like, everybody's getting it.
Working hard, yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's also a sign of fitness, actually. So like endurance athletes, like I mentioned briefly, got into triathletes, like your body regulates temperature. So if you're sweating immediately, that's usually a good sign. If you sweat while you eat, you may want to reconsider. But if you go start a run or start a cycle or something like that, or a yoga class, if you start sweating right away, it means you're warmed up, you're ready to rock. Well,
Yeah.
your body's getting primed. Let's put it that way. Your muscles still may need some time. Joints still may need some time.
I have a question about heart rates. Is this something, so you might not be able to answer this, but I've never really understood. I don't know if I've heard mixed signals or if I just haven't like actually attached what the real facts are. But if you have a lower resting heart rate or a higher, which one is more ideal? A lower resting heart rate or a higher resting heart rate?
So if you are fit, your heart rate will come down. So like the more aerobic fitness you have, your resting heart rate will be lower. You should also be able to hit a higher range as well. So you have this like bigger gap. But yeah, that's again, I'm a huge dude. I go into like a physical, not every year. I just had one and they were like, your resting heart rate's like 55. Like, do you run a lot? And I'm like, I don't run a lot, but I do the other things. And they're like, all right, okay, cool. But yeah, if you're been out of shape and your resting heart rate's like kind of low, go see a doctor just to get checked out, and then start exercising, start walking. Doesn't all need to be intense. We have this like thing in our country where, and fitness industry in general, where it's like if we're not destroying ourselves in the weight room or in a class or high intensity, yada yada yada, you're not working out hard enough. It's like there's a time and place for that. You need to work yourself up to that. Walking's great for people. Cycling's easy on the knees. Swimming's great. Yoga's fantastic. Strength training super important for longevity and just overall living. But yeah, go out and play with your weights, play with your yoga, play with your skateboard when I'm almost 40. So surprisingly, New York, I go out to the skate park that's not far from here, and it's like small kids on their razor scooters, and then like other 40-year-old dudes like me.
That's pretty cool.
They're like, all right, I'm not that weird. Everybody thinks I'm like, oh, that's the only problem. But, dudes undercover.
Well, I feel like that leads us to the last question that we ask everyone, which is, since you've listened, woohoo, do you think that yoga can change the world? Yes or no, and why? And your version of it.
Okay. I think it's the only thing that will change the world. No, I'm kidding. I do think it could change the world, in the sense that it's community, which I think is, as people, it's the most important thing that we have. Go be there with people, with strangers, become friends. I think that ability to look inward, that is very much part of a yoga practice in terms of your physicality, looking within, postures of yourself, your balance, how you feel on any given day, how you mentally arrive at a class, how you feel after you leave, is super important. And then I think that understanding of yourself can let you relate to others, whether you know them or not. You see somebody going through something, you might give them a little more space. And I think if we give ourselves space, if we give others space, and if we come together, I think that's a way that we can change the world.
Ooh, yeah.
That's
the juice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if anyone's looking for a super fun personal trainer that can work them out virtually and loves a good poop joke and is a great friend of mine, reach out to Graham. We can give you his information. He's great.
Yeah, thank you.
How can people find you or connect with you?
Yes, so you can find me on Instagram. It's at train424, so TRAINFOR 24. I don't post a ton on that personally. I'm kind of lazy with that. I also have a website, same thing, train424.com. Haven't posted to that for a while, but it does have like actually a ton of stuff from when I was riding across the country, a little blurb about me. So you could contact me through either one of those two ways. And, no commitment if you reach out to me. I'm more interested in learning who people are, where they're at, and what they're looking for. And then we can figure out what we may need. So, and if you're into poop jokes or not, I think one of my benefits is I can relate to a lot of people. So we'll clean it up when we need to.
He's not just poop joke guy. He could be serious.
Yeah, I got it all. I can be serious.
Very humble as well.
Yeah, humble. That's right. Well, I do things that humble me. So.
No, you are.
We all do more of those things. Well,
Agreed.
It was so good getting to chat with you and getting to meet you. And the next time I'm in New York, I will come knocking on your window and ask for a poop joke.
Yeah, let's work out. And if I will come to Pittsburgh at some point. My wife, and baby's 3 months, so she's got an excuse. But wife's never been there, so
Oh, you
I'll
gotta
come meet up with everybody, and we'll do yoga class for sure.
You can come leave a puddle on our floor.
Yeah.
We'll
all over the place. Well, thank you too so much. It's been awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye-bye.